Everyone, I believe we're ready to start. Senator, I believe you have an opening statement, so if you'd like to begin that, we can begin.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Over 1 million Americans and more than 10 million people worldwide have died from the COVID virus. And here we are more than 3 years later, and we still have not held China accountable for its origin. But that cloak of silence is coming down. Indeed, the shroud of secrecy is coming off. This week, we learned the Department of Energy is now joining the FBI in assessing this virus originated from a laboratory in Wuhan, China. Now, because of this, momentum is building for an exhaustive, full-throated 9/11 style non-political commission. The Department of Energy determination is significant for several reasons. For starters, new evidence has convinced the Department of Energy and their scientists to change their conclusions. Now, just to be clear, a year and a half ago, the Department of Energy concluded this virus was more likely to come from nature than from a laboratory. But today, they believe it is from a lab in Wuhan, China. Now, of course, all of America would like to know what this new evidence is, as we all look for closure on this nightmare we've all lived through these past 3 years. We've called on the Department of Energy and the DNI to make this happen. Now, we need to stop here and underscore for all Americans the significance of the FBI conclusions from over a year and a half ago when they assessed the virus came from the Wuhan lab. What every Kansan, what every American needs to understand is the FBI has a greater domestic footprint and that they have expert scientists which other intelligence agencies do not. Now, let me just say this again to put an exclamation mark on this point. The FBI has a cadre of expert scientists plus special agent investigators, which other intelligence agencies do not. And perhaps more importantly, the FBI has the power to investigate and actually speak to the scientists themselves as they search for the truth. And indeed, it appears the FBI has an investigation underway. For all these reasons and more, the FBI should have a weighted voice in this discovery process. Look, when a plane crashes in this country, we go to great lengths to determine that cause. Certainly the deaths of 1 million Americans, the destruction of our economy, the locking of our children out of our schools, all this deserves an explanation. We need to know where this virus came from and hopefully prevent future accidents. Even today, our federal government is still funding deadly viral gain-of-function research similar to what created COVID. In the past, this research dollars came from not only the NIH, but also from the State Department and the Department of Defense. Indeed, this is a very complicated web which deserves a full investigation. The truth needs to come out, and that's why I'm once again calling for a non-political 9/11 style commission. Now, we started the work for this commission over 2 years ago and will continue to press forward in a bipartisan fashion. We cannot rely on this White House administration or, frankly, the press to untangle this complicated web and review all our research grant processes as well as public health care policy. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. We're going to open it up to questions one by one with some type of orderly situation here. So, how do they want to, if they want to ask a question, do they raise their hand or are you just going to ask them one by one?
Yep. Thank you, Senator. I will just call on the names of the folks that I have who've RSVP'd here. Matthew Self with NBC Topeka. If you're on the line, go ahead and ask a question.
Yes, I'm on the line.
Do you have any further questions?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Let's go to Brandon Peoples with K-Man. Do you have any questions?
Yeah. Senator Roger Marshall, who would you like to see perhaps sit on that commission? You said you wanted it to be a bipartisan commission. How would you go about achieving that with all the back and forth that is Washington?
Right. So Senator Dianne Feinstein and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand both have worked with Senator Joni Ernst and myself. So that's the bipartisan part of this. And we actually made significant progress through the HELP committee, which I'm on, the healthcare committee, last Congress. So I think there is a significant bipartisan support for this. And then I would make this apolitical. I would take it out of Washington, D.C. even. There's plenty of investigations going on here on Capitol Hill now on the House side. But this is so complicated. Like I mentioned, we have the Department of Defense, the State Department, along with the NIH already, just to name a few, involved with this viral gain of function research. So it probably needs to be taken outside of Washington. I think that we need public health expert on it, but we also need nurses and we need doctors from back home that had to implement these public health policies. And certainly we need experts in this viral gain of function research as well. So much like the 9/11 Commission, I think it's a cadre of different officials. And I think that a bipartisan approach to this would allow both of us to appoint some folks like that without regard to their politics. And I've talked to so many scientists already. I have no idea whether they're Republicans or Democrats, but some of them volunteer the fact to me that even though they have liberal political policies, they think we need to get to the bottom of this. Thanks, Brandon.
All right, awesome. Janet Schnell with KFRM. Are you on the line and would like to ask a question?
Darn, I was hoping to get a Farm Bill question out of them.
All right. NBC Kansas City. Are you on the line? No, NBC Kansas City. Lucky Kids with Ad Astra Radio.
Okay, I'll go ahead and ask the Farm Bill question. Senator Marshall, where we stand on Farm Bill work right now.
Yeah, I just walked out of a great Farm Bill hearing. We're discussing the conservation title. And I'm just sharing with folks all the great things that farmers and ranchers are doing back home, that we're the original stewards. I want to give those farmers and ranchers maximum flexibility as there are significant dollars going forward to environmental projects. So that's the discussion of today. Earlier today was talking with the House side chairman, G.T. Thompson. We were talking about getting whole milk back in kids' lunches as well. So we're making progress, good hearings underway. We'll get back in Kansas and do some more listening on this as well. We were there in southeast Kansas last weekend listening to farmers and ranchers, and we'll continue that march throughout the state. Thanks, Lucky.
Donna Sullivan with Grass and Grain.
Good morning, Senator. I will go along the Farm Bill track as well. What about crop insurance? It seems like there's people, the Environmental Working Group, coming after that again. Do you feel like you're going to be able to give crop insurance the protection that everybody involved with this hopes that it can have in the next Farm Bill?
Absolutely. So protecting crop insurance would be my number one priority. It's the number one Farm Bill priority for every ag group I talk to. And I think what I'm trying to communicate to folks that are maybe senators from more of an urban area is that thanks to a Farm Bill, we have affordable, reliable, safe food. And in fact, we're paying about half of what other developed nations pay for groceries. And a big key for that is the crop insurance, that when a farmer has a hailstorm that destroys their crops, that they're able to plant next year's crop, that no one gets rich on crop insurance. We'd much rather be able to harvest our crops, but it allows that farmer to plant next year, provides adequate supply, which helps keep the price of groceries down across America. And in this world of inflation, where Joe Biden's policies have created grocery prices going up, 15 to 20% since he took office, we need to do everything we can to help stabilize those prices. Thank you.
All right. CBS Topeka. Any reporters from CBS Topeka on the line? All right. James with the Hayes Post. Are you there? No, James. John Hanna, AP Kansas.
This is David Klepper, actually, with the AP. I jumped on the call instead of John. Senator, thank you very much for having us. My question is this. There have been a number of reports in the last 3 years suggesting that COVID was like other coronaviruses and originated naturally. What do you think this confusion has done for the public's understanding of this pandemic? Yeah. And how would you grade, I guess, the federal government's, both under the Trump and Biden administration, job at explaining this stuff to the public and clearing up some of these questions?
Right. I think my biggest criticism would be the lack of communicating that we don't know for sure. right? As a physician, I'm used to explaining to patients the pros and cons, the risk and benefits of any type of treatment, surgery that I'm prescribing, and then involve that patient in that decision-making policy part of the equation. And I think what was upsetting, what really hurt the reputation of the CDC, frankly, and the NIH, was that they came out with dogma to say that this is the way it is, you have to wear masks, shut up and wear your mask, you have to take the vaccine, and they never sat there and explained to us that indeed that there were some benefits, but there was also a risk to all their policies. So when they lose trust, when they see that the mask didn't work, that the vaccines were, maybe helped older people, but probably didn't have any help at all for younger people, and in fact caused physical harm to young adults and children, I think that they lost all credibility. So to your point on the question about the origins of COVID, I think even today we'd have to say, look, this is why we need a 9/11 commission. We need to investigate that. We need to hear both sides of the story. But I'm telling you, what I would communicate to all Kansans is that there is a body of evidence that, if given the opportunity to present to the Kansas public, that I think would prove, that would almost beyond a shadow of a doubt, not completely, but certainly most Kansans would conclude that this virus more than likely, most likely, came from a lab in Wuhan, China, that it was funded. It was funded with American taxpayer dollars by Dr. Fauci, by the NIH, by the Department of Defense, and the State Department even. So that's what's frustrating to me, is and to even to this day that we're still doing viral gain of function research, and we can't get that reined in. That's why I'm calling for an immediate ceasing of any type of viral gain of function research. At a minimum, we need to do this. It's a ticking time bomb just waiting to go off again.
All right. Dan, the Kansas City Star, are you on the line?
Hi, Senator. I've got a two-parter. One, just given everything about this pandemic has just been politicized, right? Everything from masks to vaccines to pretty much every aspect of it. How would somebody, how would you take the politics out of a committee that would be examining this issue that, you're right, is a very kind of serious thing that, might take a long time to get to the bottom of? And then my second question is, since people are going off topic with the Farm Bill, my question was about the Labor Secretary that's going to be before the Health Committee, Julie Su, and whether or not you believe she's qualified for the position.
Yeah. So tell me what the first question was again. You lost me. Sorry.
How do you depoliticize a committee when so much of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, has been politicized?
Right. I think much like they were able to accomplish that through the 9/11 committee, I think it can be reproduced again. I do think that those folks that are on that committee have to be very carefully picked. I think it would be better to take it out of Washington. It is impossible to do anything up here, it seems like, without politics being involved. Heck, I would do it in Kansas City. I would take it out of the limelight, turn the cameras off, and let these people do some work. And have witnesses. Let America listen to some of these witnesses as well as we kind of bring them forward and say, show us your evidence. I think it starts with more transparency. I think that we overclassify information. Whatever changed the Department of Energy's mind, I think that America deserves to see that. I can't imagine it's so classified that it would put someone's lives at risk. But at a minimum, I think we in Congress need to see about it. And tell me who the person is that you're talking about for the Health Committee.
I believe it's Julie Su. Is Biden nominated Julie Su to be the Labor Secretary to replace Marty Walsh? Yeah,
I've not finished my review of that person's record even, and so I think I'm a long way from making a decision on that person.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay.
Excellent. Anybody else on the line with a question? Otherwise, we will wrap this up.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.